Welcome to Whispers and Confessions. There might be a twist waiting, so please make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's begin right away.
I used to be a nobody, but now I live happily with my wife. If it weren't for that couple swap, my life might have taken a very different turn. I'm Henry, 42, and my wife Melissa is 40. We don't have any kids yet. The other couple, Ethan, 44, and his wife Yuli, 42, also don't have children. Yuli was exactly my type, cute and attractive. I love my wife and want to be with her forever, but I couldn't help but wonder what it would be like just to touch Yuli's full, soft-looking breasts. It wasn't something I could actually do in real life, but every time I saw Yuli, those fantasies crept into my mind. Melissa and I met through a blind date. Honestly, I wasn't much of a catch and had no real experience with women. I wasn't confident and had pretty much given up from the start, thinking no woman would ever be interested in someone like me. But I had a friend, someone I'd known for a long time, who couldn't stand seeing me as the only one without a girlfriend. So, he set up the blind date for me. I tried to refuse, saying, "I'll just kill the mood." But he insisted, telling me, "There's a girl who actually likes your type." So, half against my will, I went. That's how I met Melissa. She seemed like she didn't have much experience with guys either. She was wearing glasses with thick frames and had her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, not exactly what you'd expect for a date. But there was something about her that made me feel comfortable. For the first time in a while, I actually made an effort to talk. After the date, I asked for her number and we met again. That's when I realized she was the one. When Melissa and I first became intimate, she was surprisingly passionate. When our lips met, her tongue eagerly intertwined with mine, catching me off guard, but I responded with equal fervor. As I gently caressed her soft breasts, our bodies pressed naturally closer together. She breathed heavily, whispering, "Henry, I really like this." And in that moment, I understood the depth of her feelings. Our first time together was full of love and passion, marking the start of our relationship beautifully. Even after we got married, we continued to be active in the bedroom. But something felt off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but our nights together left me feeling like something was missing. Other than that, she was a great wife. We communicated well, spent our days off together, and enjoyed going out for drinks. Even now, I still think marrying her was the right decision. At the time, I was working a regular job, but someone suggested I consider starting my own business. I decided to go for it and opened a store a little way from where we lived. It was tough at first, but with some help from the person who had encouraged me, things eventually stabilized, and Melissa was supportive, saying, "I'm happy for you." Around that time, Ethan and Yuli came into my store. At first glance, Ethan seemed a bit unpleasant, but it turned out he was a good guy once you got to know him. And Yuli, well, she was stunning. Her figure was exactly my type, more voluptuous and sensual compared to Melissa. Yuli's curves, especially her large, firm breasts, caught my attention every time I saw her. While Melissa looked fine, she didn't quite measure up to Yuli in my eyes. Ethan and Yuli had a dog, and since Melissa loves dogs, we naturally grew closer to them. Melissa and Yuli even became good friends. Ethan also ran his own business, and since I had weekdays off, we often went fishing together when our schedules aligned. We got pretty close with them, even having barbecues together with their dog. A new gym opened nearby, and Melissa and Yuli started going there together. One morning, while we were having breakfast, Melissa suddenly mentioned that Yuli had suggested we try swapping husbands for a day. "What? Like a couple swap?" I asked, surprised, wondering where this had come from. It didn't seem like they'd fought or anything, and the conversation didn't go any further at that point. About 2 weeks later, after coming back from the gym with Yuli, Melissa brought it up again. Yuli had apparently made the suggestion a second time. By then, it seemed like it wasn't some joke or fight, they were serious. Could it include nighttime activities too? Probably, I thought. I didn't say much, just an "oh, really?" and left it at that. Another week passed, and while I was working, Melissa sent me a WhatsApp message saying that Yuli had brought up the swap idea yet again. When I got home, I asked her, "Do you think they're trying to fix something in their marriage, or are they just wanting to swap for the night?" Melissa responded, It's probably the latter, the night part. The idea of sleeping with another man's wife felt like something out of a movie or some bizarre alternate reality. I couldn't believe a couple would actually suggest this in real life. And surprisingly, instead of immediately rejecting it, Melissa asked me, should we say no? I turned the question back to her. Are you interested? She blushed deeply and turned away. Then she asked me, Henry, what do you think? I paused before answering, well, this isn't something that would break us up. So, maybe, just once? Melissa smiled slightly and said, I feel the same way. She blushed even more as she picked up her phone, texting Yuli, we're okay with trying it once. Yuli responded almost instantly, let's meet tomorrow after work. The place is the karaoke bar near the station. The whole thing felt so surreal, like I was in a dream. I rearranged my schedule to make sure I wouldn't have to work late the next day. When I got home, Melissa was putting on makeup with more care than usual. Even though nothing was happening that night, it felt like something big was about to start. I drove Melissa to the karaoke bar where we were meeting. Ethan and Yuli were already there, sipping coffee while they waited. Yuli was wearing a low-cut black camisole, and I couldn't help but notice the way it revealed her cleavage. My heart was racing, knowing that something was about to begin. We're sorry for being late, I said awkwardly as we greeted them. Melissa looked a bit shy too. I had no idea what to say or how to start this conversation. Yuli broke the ice with a bright smile. Thank you so much for coming. We're really happy you're here. Ethan, still looking slightly awkward, said, yeah, thanks a lot. But soon his expression brightened, surprising me. He seems so different from the guy I went fishing with. Ethan then laid out the rules. The swap would happen this Saturday. We'd meet at 11:30 a.m. at our usual cafe for a light meal, then switch cars with each other's wives and drive to the hotel that was booked for the afternoon. We'd spend time there until 5:30 p.m. and then meet back at the cafe to wrap things up. Ethan seemed comfortable with the whole situation, like he'd done this with other couples before. When Saturday came, we finished eating at the cafe, and the swap began. Yuli got into my car, and Melissa got into Ethan's. Yuli was wearing a light pink camisole and a thin jacket over it. Her skirt was so short, I didn't know where to look. Then Yuli turned to me and asked, are you nervous? I wiped the sweat off my forehead and replied, yeah, I've never done anything like this before. Yuli just said, me neither. And with those simple words, I felt an electric jolt go through me. We made some small talk as we drove to the hotel. Our rooms were on the same floor, but not right next to each other. I glanced toward Melissa as we headed inside with Yuli. In the room, Yuli grabbed a bottle of water from the mini fridge and drank it in one go. Handing me the bottle, she said, you're the same age as me, right? I nodded, yeah, I guess we are. Let's take it easy. She smiled, yeah, let's keep it casual, and started taking off her jacket. Then she walked up to me and kissed me. I accidentally dropped the bottle I was holding. The taste of Yuli's lips was completely different from Melissa's, and I responded to it instinctively, eagerly deepening the kiss. After a while, we pulled back and looked at each other. Someone suggested we take a shower, and we want to clean up together. When we got back to the room, Yuli bent down to pick up the bottle I dropped, and I wrapped my arms around her from behind, pressing my lips to her neck. She jumped, saying, oh, not there. Apparently her neck was super sensitive, but I couldn't stop myself from continuing. Slowly, I removed her bath towel with both hands and gently caressed her breasts. Mm. A soft moan escaped her lips. Her reaction excited me, and I felt like I was about to explode. Then she whispered, it's not fair if it's just you. As she moved her hand down to softly caress my body, I immediately moved my hand to her intimate area. She was already wet there. Lying on the bed, I tried to become one with her. A shiver ran through me as her soft skin touched my fingertips. Wait, you haven't used your lips yet. There was a playful tone in her voice. But instead of answering, I looked deeply into her eyes and slowly joined with her. A small gasp escaped her lips, and her nails lightly scratched my back. As our breathing became more ragged, it felt like our two bodies were melting into one. How cunning, she said, exhaling deeply. Our legs intertwined, and her breathing became more ragged. She straddled me, moving rhythmically. She seemed to reach climax several times. I, too, couldn't hold back any longer and reached my peak. With a flushed face, she smiled and carefully removed the condom from my member. Finally, she gently enveloped it with her lips and whispered, "This was the best spouse swap so far." We left the hotel room and headed back to the cafe as planned. On the way, I didn't see any sign of Melissa and Ethan. When we arrived, Ethan's car was already parked outside. It seemed like we were the last to get there. Walking into the cafe, we saw Ethan and Melissa sitting together, chatting over coffee. Ethan looked completely satisfied, and a small wave of jealousy swept over me as I noticed his content expression. After exchanging some awkward goodbyes with Yuli and Ethan, we parted ways and headed home. Back at the house, Melissa collapsed onto the couch, looking exhausted. I watched her for a moment, then went into the kitchen to prepare some cold lemon water. I returned, sat beside her, and gently massaged her shoulders. Melissa gave me a grateful smile, and I leaned in to kiss her softly on the lips. But something about that kiss felt different from before. Melissa kissed me back with more passion than usual. It was clear that something between us had shifted after the couple swap. Yet, neither of us felt the need to bring it up. Melissa stayed quiet, and so did I. Instead, we exchanged silent smiles, sharing a glance that spoke volumes. In those looks, there was an understanding, a new sense of trust, maybe even some unspoken emotion that hadn't been there before. We stayed on the couch, holding each other close. I could feel her warmth as she nestled into my arms. In that moment, words felt unnecessary. We were both content, and I sensed a deeper bond forming between us. It was as if the experience of swapping partners had breathed new life into our relationship. We'd promised it would be a one-time thing, but about a month later, another invitation arrived.